All right, here we go. We are here for week 7 of Satellite Savants. Man, if you guys did not know, we record this show on Tuesday, and we've had a crazy Tuesday in the NFL. We've had a couple trades, and we've had some news for another team potentially starting a quarterback over another quarterback. It's been one thing after another here at in the NFL fan world. Starting off the bat, we've got a monster trade going to the New York Jets, getting Davante Adams. Um, Jason, what do you think about that trade? Do you think he's going to contribute right away?
I don't know about right away. It's going to take a little bit to learn that offense. Of course, he definitely has a rapport with Aaron Rodgers, aka the New York Jets' new GM.
Yeah,
But he doesn't have any kind of input, so
yeah,
it's
right.
not Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
But I think that's an interesting pickup from a football perspective. Hey, you got yourself a top talent wide receiver, but from a fantasy perspective, Garrett Wilson owners are definitely upset. So you can see that taking a hit. Uh, I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. This has either something really cool about to blow up, or this could literally blow up in Aaron Rodgers' face. So we'll see what happens.
yeah. I think the person that's going to be impacted the most is going to be Alan Lazard, and imagine how he feels. He feels that like that old kid that just had a baby come into the family, and now he has to contend for the love of his daddy, Aaron Rodgers. So,
Yeah.
the New York Packers are looking a certain way right now. We'll see if Aaron can get his ducks in a row and figure something out. Interesting thing about this is Davante Adams miraculously healed from a hamstring injury, which
It's a miracle.
it's a miracle. Remind
Miracle.
me
Look
of
at that.
there he is.
Look
He's
at him.
good.
Popping right out of a wheelchair. Oh,
First thing I
coming
thought of,
right out
man, that
the oh.
never gets old. And then we got Amari Cooper heading over to the Buffalo Bills.
That's
Jason, I'll
big.
be honest with you, I love this trade.
That's very big. Josh Allen was screaming for that kind of deep threat wide receiver, a guy he can really count on. He had some weapons there, but he was doing a lot of the work himself.
Yeah,
Shakir fit in nicely, but he's not a number one. Kincaid, he's kind of been MIA this year. Knox a few games here and there, but who else? I mean, so that is going to be huge for the Buffalo Bills. They are in control of that division right now. So putting him with Josh Allen, I think that's going to be a 1-2 punch. Amari Cooper going from worst to first, essentially going from one of the
yeah.
first worst teams in the NFL, and being kind of invisible to all of a sudden he's going to a first place team. So you can imagine the excitement that he's going to have. So I definitely can see Amari getting 100 yards plus per game and a touchdown here and there. So fantasy owners, I think today a lot of them, a lot of fantasy owners were trying to trade for him right
Yeah.
now because they know he's going to pop.
Yeah, in standard leagues, absolutely. Amari Cooper is gonna do very well with the Bills. And the one reason why I love this trade so much is because essentially you got rid of Stephon Diggs, which was, one of the best pass catchers in the league, but he's a diva. And when Stephon Diggs didn't get that ball, Josh Allen heard from him. And you're not going to hear that from Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is one of the most selfless professional football players in the league. He's been tossed around more than Justin Bieber at a Diddy party. The guy doesn't complain. He just does what he does what he should do. Too soon, probably. I don't know, but
Probably
well,
that's okay. That's what we
it's
do here.
okay. That's right. That's right. So, yeah,
Anybody had a reason to complain being in Cleveland, especially with the quarterback play there, and you didn't hear one peep out of him. Again, I think he is going to blossom. You're going to see the second coming of Coop, and it's going to be something interesting to see that dynamic. Because again, I'm sure Josh Allen is hella happy right now to get
absolutely.
a guy that can literally catch the ball. And he doesn't go to somebody else. I think that's the other thing too. Is
Yeah.
the Bills picking him up prevents him from going to maybe a KC or another quality team. So I think the Bills made a fantastic move here.
Yeah, big move. And, as I was watching these games this week, I kept thinking to myself, I see these guys that score big on my teams, and I just want to give them a hug. I just want to say thank you for doing what you're doing for my fantasy team and get me this win, or even get me close to a win. So it made me think of a tradition we often see in a locker room called game ball. And what I would love for our viewers to do, if you happen to go to the YouTube channel, go into the comments. If you give us a comment and let us know, who would you give your game ball to? Who's that one player that made a difference on your team? Man, we could have a really fun discussion about this. Jason, you have a good bit of fantasy teams. Who's that guy on your fantasy team that you just want to give the game ball to and say, thank you, brother?
Well, one guy I have, and I got him basically in all of my leagues because I really had and have big hopes for him this year, was I'm going to give some love to Love. Jordan Love, Green Bay Packers, fantastic game, over 34 points last week, 258 yards, 4 touchdowns. Coming off the injury, he had a great game the week before, and I didn't start him that week because I didn't think he was going. He had a little bit of rust, but still had a good game, and then just came back and showed people why he is top tier talent. I think he's going to really be a top 5 quarterback in this league. Watch out. He's going to make some noise. He does have some competition in that division. And I think that NFC division is really tough that he's in with the Bears and the Vikings. But I think he comes out on top. My game ball, Mr. Love. Love me some Love. Good job.
I got to go with my home team on this one, and no one worked harder for the ball than Zay Flowers this week for the Baltimore Ravens. 9 for 9, caught all of his targets, 132 yards. The guy did not have a touchdown, but got 22 points on just catches and yardage alone. Zay
Yep.
Flowers got it done for me. I love to see it. Zay Flowers is that guy that Lamar Jackson told the Baltimore Ravens to get. He wanted them. He's feeding them the ball, especially on a team when you got Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson doing their thing. For him to come away with 132 yards, fantastic to see. Zay Flowers, thank you. Game ball to you. We've been very critical this year, Jason, of tight ends. It's been difficult to find a tight end that does something for you. But week 6, I'd venture to say, is the week of tight ends. We have seen some major points from tight ends this week. I want to shout out another homeboy, Mark Andrews. We said he was done. We said not to sit him. I'm
No,
still
we
telling
did.
you
We
not.
dug him up. We dug up Mark Andrews, baby.
We told you to sit Mark Andrews, and I'm still telling you to sit Mark Andrews. However, this week he got his first touchdown of the year. Tight end celebration number 1 goes to Mark Andrews. Good to see him back in the mix of things. Another guy I'm very happy to see do well, George Kittle. He's been the number 1 tight end in the league this year, which is a big win for a lot of owners, especially when we focused on Kincaid, we focused on Kelsey, we focused on Laporta. George Kittle once again running away with 2 touchdowns, 5 receptions against Seattle at home. At Seattle. So another
Big.
massive performance. Jason, Cole Kmet is somebody we've been asking for points for multiple years now. We just want to see some life from Cole Kmet. Got us 5 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 24 points. We even had some lesser points, but again, points nonetheless. Zach Ertz, I told you guys to start last week. He had 5 receptions against the Ravens, 68 yards, walked away with 10.80 points. Evan Ingram, back from injury, 10 for 10. He did have a fumble, but he had 102 yards, 19 points. So it was the week for tight ends. It's good to see. We've been struggling. Welcome back to all the tight ends that provided for us this week.
Yeah, some late bloomers. Tight end position definitely was thin early. It's great to see them because, again, there's nothing more fun in the NFL to watch a big man like that score a touchdown. And your top 10 tight ends right now, you got Kittle, number 1, Bowers, and fantasy points, number
Yeah.
2, Kmet, McBride, Kraft, who's another one that's really stepped up for the Green Bay Packers. Isaiah Likely still up there, too, who is still one of the go-tos for your boys there, the Ravens. Goddard, who's been hurt, but he's still up there. Freiermuth slipped off a little bit. Pitts is still in the top 10. I don't know how because I don't ever see him. And then rounding off is Ferguson. Now, Kincaid, 11th. Kelsey, 13th. And Laporta, 17th. So Wayne, tell me those guys outside the top 10, some of the guys inside the top 10. Who do you see kind of sliding out of that top 10? Who do you see sliding into that top 10 to ride with the rest of the season?
I don't have a whole lot of faith in Pat Fryermuth. Still not sure what the Steelers' identity is. We mentioned earlier in the series, and I forgot to bring it up, but the Steelers don't even know who their starting quarterback is going to be going forward. They're talking about bringing Russell Wilson in, which is to me is insane. I can't imagine Mike Tomlin is going to sit his guy Justin Fields, who's been winning games for him and running all over the place, for Russell Wilson to come in. Again, it must be just be a pride thing and not hurt his feelings thing. But Pat Fryermuth, I'm not a believer in. I think somebody that can possibly turn it around. We've seen some flashes of greatness from. Really, Evan Ingram is coming back from injury. The Jaguars need something. They are one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. Brian Thomas Jr. is one of the bright spots on that team, but he can't do it all. Trevor Lawrence needs another target to throw to. So I think later down the road, Evan Ingram can be a reliable tight end again. I would like to see a couple more weeks of him playing to see where that goes. And we'll get to that later. But Evan Ingram could be somebody that eventually works himself into the top 10.
Gotcha. We'll see what happens. Again, a lot of football, but right now, it's crazy to think week 7, we got 7 more games to the playoffs. So we are mid-season. We are in mid-season form. This is moving day. This is where you're making power moves. You're trying to make some trades to shore up your playoff spot here. So here at Sideline Savants, we want to recognize some mid-season winners and losers, because right now, guys, fantasy football this year has been very volatile. There has been some winners out there who made some fantastic picks and some underrated picks. And then, of course, there's been some picks that totally flopped and you're paying for now on the waiver wire. So one of my big season, mid-season winners here is teams that drafted Derrick Henry as their first running back. Derrick Henry, the number 1 rusher in the league right now. He is an absolute monster. I am a huge Derrick Henry fan. He runs like old school, Earl Campbell, Walter Payton. He is just, he's that kind of Emmitt Smith. He is that kind of runner. He is pure Hall of Famer. Just give him the gold jacket now. He's having a phenomenal season with that Ravens offense. And I think that's what really makes them a dynamic team. One of my other big winners here is quarterback-wise. Anybody that drafted Jaden Daniels and saw the potential in this kid is loving him right now. He's 3rd in fantasy points as a quarterback, just behind Baker and Lamar. So kudos to those 2 winners. If your team drafted those guys, you're probably doing pretty good in your fantasy. Wayne, give me a couple of your winners so far.
I think the biggest winner right now, honestly, and it's a big surprise, is we see a lot of disappointing quarterback play this year, from Trevor Lawrence to I just had it in my head and it just escaped me right there. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence is one of them. Dak Prescott's another one that's suffering. Even Jalen Hurts isn't having the best games. But there's a guy that came through and we thought his career was over, and that's Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is the number 2 fantasy quarterback in the league right now. He has been a top 10 quarterback 5 of the 6 weeks we've been playing. He's been a top 5 quarterback for 4 of 6 weeks. Not to mention, no one drafted the guy. He was on the waiver wires and picked him up. And Jason, just for fun, because I am a fan of receipts, I had to show a little image here. This is our league, Jason. It's kind of small font there, but you will see that
New York State of Mind right there.
New York State of Mind. Jason dropped Baker Mayfield September 12th. Who picked him up, Jason? Yours truly,
the commish himself.
That's right. I am 5-1 in that league right now. Thank you, Baker Mayfield. What a win to grab the number 2 quarterback, is giving everybody points right now off waiver wires. Another win for me. The number 5 running back in the NFL right now. Any guesses of who that is, Jason?
Number 5, Aaron Jones.
Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba
Another
Hubbard.
guy where no one drafted. And I
Right.
think a large part of the reason why no one drafted Chuba Hubbard, even though we were told Jonathan Brooks was not going to play for the first 4 or 5 weeks, and now it's been longer than that.
Mhm.
We thought Jonathan Brooks was going to run away with that starting job, and Chuba is just going to be a fill-in, and the Panthers stink. But Chuba Hubbard has been getting it done. Completely went undrafted. He's been a waiver wire pickup. So in fantasy football, when you can grab people off the waiver wires and they're winning your league for you, I mean, it's you don't get much of a better win than that.
That's fantastic. I know, especially, I can hear the tears from Cleveland from here as they watch Baker Mayfield lead that team and have a
Yeah.
phenomenal season because their quarterback play, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. You talk about some very bad play. And the Carolina Panthers, those fans need somebody to rally around, and Chuba Hubbard is definitely one of those guys, a bright spot for a struggling franchise. So
Yep.
that's awesome to see that. Those are some winners. Definitely some losers out there. There's a few moves. I know you know who you are because you made some of those moves. You made some of those draft picks, and by week 7 you're going, why did I do that?
Yep.
My biggest losers is anybody that drafted CMC number 1 overall. Unfortunately, you couldn't have picked that he had this now, tendonitis and Achilles tendonitis, whatever he's got there. I'm hearing in the wind that maybe November they may open the practice for him and he may get on the field. But as far as fantasy owners, I don't think he's really even going to get in soon enough to really make an impact. So all those fantasy owners that drafted him above a Derrick Henry, you guys are hurting right now because he's just kind of sitting there on your bench, really just slapping you in the face just to remind you of, man, you picked him first. I could have picked somebody else. My other biggest losers, and I actually had to write this down. You talked about sloppy quarterback play. There is a bunch of quarterbacks out there that have not scored over 100 points, and some of them are actually very surprising. Patrick Mahomes, here we are, week 7, hasn't scored over 100 points total in fantasy yet this year. Tua, of course, he has his issue, but again, he was a top draft pick, and who knows if he's ever going to see the field. Deshaun Watson, again, excuse me. You talk about some problems in Cleveland. Matt Stafford, again, someone lost his wide receivers, not really scoring any points. And then Anthony Richardson over there, in Indianapolis. What are they doing with this kid, making him run? That's how he got hurt. That's how a lot of quarterbacks lose their career. And what do? They keep running him. So you got a whole list of quarterbacks here that were top picks. I'm sure they were top draft picks on your board, that you were in love with them. And not one of them have scored over 100 points yet total for the season. And here we are in week 7. So those are my losers, because I know it hurts to have studs like that on your team that just are not producing.
Yeah, Jason, a year ago I dived into dynasty leagues for the first time, and it's my favorite way to play fantasy football now. I love dynasty leagues, and when I think of a loser, I think of Bijan Robinson owners. We've seen multiple owners in dynasty trade away draft picks, trade away major players for draft picks just to acquire Bijan Robinson, which is supposed to be a generational talent at running back. I'm not saying that the guy doesn't have a bright future. He obviously had a very good game last week. But when it comes to losing, when it comes to selecting a player very high and hoping he was going to lead you to the promised land, but John Robinson has not been that running back yet. So that's my loser, my midseason loser.
I think someone traded for him. I think they gave up 4 first-round picks or something for him.
Something crazy.
It was something like it was like, man, you're giving away the farm to trade for this guy, and he has just not produced. So yeah, it's definitely he's definitely been a disappointment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
yeah,
Jason, we are here for one thing only, and that's to give fantasy advice of who we think are going to start and who we think are going to sit. And
Yes, sir.
we're going to fire up our quarterback starts and sits right now. Jason, who you got at quarterback?
Quarterback, and it's hard to not pick this guy. I know he had a little bit of an off game last weekend because I told you guys it was going to be tough to play in Baltimore, and he had a decent game. He actually kept them in the game, but Jaden Daniels, but start him. He's going against the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers give up an average of almost 21 points per fantasy quarterback. So Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to have a huge bounce back game. He's going against that Carolina Panthers. So go ahead and start him. And if I had to sit somebody, Kyler Murray against the Chargers. Oh,
Didn't mean, my bad. Didn't mean to do that.
I'm giving him a game ball too. He's been a great quarterback this year. But sit Kyler Murray. He's going against the Chargers. That Chargers defense is really, really tough to play against. I think they're going to bottle him up. Kyler hasn't really been playing very well this year. The running around thing is going to start getting old a little bit. That's how he got hurt last year. So if I had to sit somebody, sit Kyler Murray. He's going to have a terrible game against those Chargers defense.
Yeah, my must start this week, and I'm starting to feel repetitive mentioning his name, but we're showing a lot of love to Jordan Love. Jordan Love, once again, the guy has not thrown under 200 yards all season long. He's going against Houston. Houston's got a heck of a team. I believe it's going to be a very high scoring game. Jordan Love's going to pass that ball around, and respect to Jordan Love for getting Romeo Doubs involved this week after Romeo had his little meltdown the week before and they suspended him for a game. Love came out and said, no hard feelings, just score me some points, dude. Catch some touchdowns. Came out and did so. So Jordan Love is my must start. I am sitting the head coach of the New York Packers, Aaron Rodgers, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers has a very tough defense. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, everybody's looking at him. Even with Davante Adams miraculously coming back from injury.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. The Steelers are going to come to play. And I just think it's going to be another disappointing showing from Ron himself. Jason, who we got for running back?
You know what? It's tough because again, there's some good running backs out there, but unless you have one of the top 5 studs on your team who you're going to start blindly no matter what, sometimes you got to dig in the barrel a little bit. This guy's coming off a bye. He had a decent game the week before the bye. He's now rested up. I think he's getting in there. Raheem Mostert. A-Chain is kind of banged up. The young kid has not emerged yet. So Raheem Mostert coming off the bye versus Indy. I think that Dolphins team is going to rely heavily on the run because, again, who's throwing the football? Is it Snoop? Is it somebody else? I'm surprised the Dolphins haven't made a trade for somebody, but that's a whole nother story. But Raheem Mostert, I think he's going to get some points, especially there's nothing better than whether you're winning or losing garbage time points. And I could see Raheem getting some garbage time points or a garbage touchdown because you know what? In fantasy football, even them garbage touchdowns, they score you points. So I'm going to go ahead and start him. And I'm sitting James Conner. Again, a little banged up. Benson's taking over some of his carries there. He's going against it again. The Chargers. Chargers defense is no joke. They're pretty good. They've kept them in the game. Watch out for the khaki slacks there. Harbaugh on the sideline. I think he's got his pacemaker going or whatever. I know he had a little bit of an episode there on Sunday, and I wish him well. Because the Harbaughs, there's nothing better in the NFL than having both those guys in it. But I'm sitting James Conner against the Chargers.
Jason, I gotta go Tony Pollard as my must start going up against the going against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have been allowing 5 yards per carry for running backs that they're facing, and they have been allowing a lot of receptions for running backs as well. Pollard is showing great strides as the leading running back for the Tennessee Titans. Very impressive, actually. You know, last year he had a little disappointing year with the Dallas Cowboys. I was real high on him and just didn't take off like we wanted him to see it. But Pollard is really coming to play ball. Big fan of Tony Pollard against the Bills. I am sitting Najee Harris against the Jets.
Really?
Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
The Jets have only allowed 2 rushing touchdowns all season to running backs. They're a very tough defense, rushing defense. Najee Harris had a pretty solid game the other night, but with the New York Jets, they got to do something to impress Ron, and I think that defense is gonna show up against the Steelers.
Wow.
We
Wow,
got
wow.
wide receiver. Who's your must start?
I know he drives you nuts, but I'm going with the X-Man coming off the bye week. Patrick Mahomes needs to get some of the ball. Again, Xavier Worthy, I think he's going to step up. He had a halfway decent game last week. I know he got the touchdown, gave it to his mama, which is awesome. But I think they need to get this guy more involved in that offense. That will get some points on the board. They need to score. They are missing that dynamic wide receiver. They are missing Mr. Rice. I know Instant Rice, kind of made fun of him a little bit, but he definitely was Patrick Mahomes number one. And to lose that, you need to count on somebody. So Xavier Worthy, they're going against the 49ers. The 49ers know how to score points. So this is not going to be a grind out game. KC, in order to keep pace with what they're doing, they're going to need to put points on the board. And I think this kid's going to kind of do what Debo does. He may come out of the backfield. They may use him as a rusher. They may send him deep down the field. So watch out for him against the 49ers. And if I had to sit somebody, George Pickens. I mean, you talk about all-world talent, but just, again, somebody that really makes a lot of stupid mistakes. And the New York Jets defense can smell blood in the water. Sauce Gardner is going to eat this kid up, and he's going to make him shoot himself in the foot. I am sitting George Pickens. He may get kicked out of the game because that Jets defense likes to smack people in the mouth, and this kid doesn't like to get smacked in the mouth. So I'm sitting him. Last couple of weeks, he's been under projections. Again, making bad decisions. So sit George Pickens against the Jets. He's not going to do very well.
Jason, this next pick I'm going to call the Commissioner Guarantee. I am making this selection myself. I am doing this myself. I will show the screenshot next week if I get it wrong. You guys, I want you to give me one. I want you to give me it all. Demarius Douglas going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Demarius plays for the New England Patriots. If you were unaware of this man, he had a career game last week for the season anyways. And I believe that Drake May is going to bring new life to this New England team. Jacksonville Jaguars, arguably the worst team in the NFL right now. We had the Cleveland Browns are in the mix, but the Jacksonville Jaguars look terrible. Everybody's scoring on them. Demarius Douglas is going to be somebody that I fire up. And the man that I am sitting to play Demarius Douglas for is Christian Kirk for the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against New England Patriots. Christian Kirk has been very disappointing lately. Trevor Lawrence has been very disappointing lately. And I just do not see Christian Kirk getting anything done against that New England defense. So that's just this wow. Little malfunction there.
Little malfunction there. I mean, that's what we talk about. That's how these things are supposed to make you feel. Like I'm just going crazy now. I like it.
On my personal team, I am sitting Christian Kirk and I am starting Demarius Douglas. You can count that as a Commissioner Guarantee. We will be showing the screenshot next week. Tune in to see if I nailed it or if I lost your game for you. Sorry, but I'm pretty sure I got this. We'll see.
We'll see.
That leads us to the tight end position, Jason.
Yes.
Who you got?
We've been showing a lot of tight end love today, man. Show some love. Who you starting? Who you sitting? Let's get the love out there, baby.
I am going with Brock Bowers going up against the Rams. Uh, Somebody has to catch some balls for the New England Raiders, not New England, for the LA Raiders right now.
Well, Tom Brady is partial owner now,
Yeah.
so you might as well call them the New England Raiders.
Yep.
So Antonio Pierce, you better watch it because I know Bill Belichick's out there, and now that Tom Brady's in charge, ooh, that'll be interesting.
The thing with Bowers, man, he scored 23 points against Denver. That was 2 weeks ago. He
That's
scored
hard to
six.
do.
Yeah, he scored 16 points against Pittsburgh. The two things that those games have in common is they did not have Davante Adams playing for the Raiders. So Bowers has been stepping up. He's the guy that they're throwing the ball to. I would look for Bowers to continue to be a top 5 tight end. My tight end sit. I did mention that he has the potential to get in to the top 10 of tight ends. Evan Ingram is back from injury, but he is going against New England Patriots. The New England Patriots have only allowed 1 touchdown this whole year to tight ends. With Trevor Lawrence playing the way he's playing, I do not feel confident playing Evan Ingram going against the Patriots.
Wow, interesting. Well, mine again, not as flashy as a pick, maybe, but my start tight end, and we talked about him earlier, Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz has been playing very well, kind of reborn. That that Commanders team has been playing lights out, and I think that this guy is a great safety valve for Daniels. So Zach Ertz, he had almost 11 points last week. Not a huge showing, but he's going against Carolina, and Carolina likes to give up points. So Zach Ertz, you need a tight end to start to throw out there. You don't have one of those top 5 guys. Throw him in there. He's going to get you some points. They're going to score against Carolina, no doubt. And I had to sit somebody, Cade Otton. You know, he's having an okay season. Baker is on fire. I mean, they scored 51 points last week. That Bucks team. Chris Godwin, he's the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy right now. So you talk about a winner when you're midseason winners. If you have Chris Godwin on your team, you're getting points every week. But Cade Otton, I'd sit him. They're going against the Ravens, tough team. That's going to be hard sledding for Baker because I know that Ravens defense really, really wants to shut this high-powered offense down. And how do you do that? You run the football, and the Ravens have that workhorse in Derrick Henry, and I think they can keep the ball out of Baker's hands. So I'm sitting Cade Otton.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that sit whatsoever. Jason, it's time for our sleeper pick. Go into our deep sleep, get this pick in for you. My sleeper pick, I'm going Jerry Jeudy for the Cleveland Browns. I know the Cleveland Browns, and that's a deep sleep pick. I know the Cleveland
Wow,
Browns
are you
are.
okay? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all
All
right.
right.
But if there's a team in the NFL that just absolutely stinks, it's the Cincinnati Bengals. And if Deshaun Watson can't get something done against this Bengals defense, what can he do? So Jerry Jeudy's got to step up. He has shown little glimpses of greatness earlier in the season. He stepped in when Amari Cooper was out of injury. I don't really believe in Elijah Moore all that much. You got Njoku still a little banged up. You have Dante Foreman, who just left practice a day ago with a neck injury. So you got guys all over the place in Cleveland that are hurt and struggling. Jerry Jeudy has to step up, so he's going to be my sleeper pick. If anything, I could see him getting a score. Maybe perhaps having a game very similar to Zay Flowers this week, with multiple catches here and there. So I'm going Jerry Jeudy as my sleeper pick. In fact, I have a waiver wire request in for Jerry Jeudy, and he's someone that I might just plug in for the hell of it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think the waiver wire is beating down the hatches for him, but you never know. He
Yeah.
is. Look at that team needs something, and those guys are NFL players. They hear the noise. They're going to want to go out there and perform because even if they're not playing for this year, they're playing for a contract for next year. So they got to show out and do something. My sleeper. Let's see. It worked for Romeo last week. Romeo had a little bit of issue. Wasn't getting the ball. Wasn't involved in offense. Had a few words. They had to sit him. But Calvin Ridley, on the Titans. Exactly. We all know he is number 0.
Who?
Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
Calvin Ridley kind of pulled the same thing. Hey guys, I'm not getting the ball. What's going on? Watch him to have a pretty decent game because again, you get wide receivers like that kind of start making some noise, even if it's for a week. Rent him for a week, throw him out there. I think he's going to get more targets than he's had all year. Watch Calvin Ridley again. We're going in that deep sleep. Book it.
There you go. It worked for Romeo Dobbs, and again, kudos to the Packers for making that happen and getting Dobbs back involved. Listen, guys, it's been a fun episode. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We love doing this for you. We love making content. We love talking fantasy football. As I mentioned earlier in the show, we had a segment called Game Ball. If you could do us a favor, just for fun, let's get a conversation started. Go into our YouTube, go into the comments. Let us know who got your game ball for week 6. If this takes off, we'll continue to try to be more interactive with you all and get some questions answered and just get some comments. Let's just talk fantasy football together. So I appreciate everybody coming out, viewing us, supporting us. Boom Broadcast, doing big things right now, and I appreciate being a part of it. Jason, thank you for joining me as always.
Kamish, thank you very much for having me. I love being here. I love you guys for watching. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Sideline Savants, again, 12 p.m. on Wednesdays. Check us out, share us. And like the Kamish said, who's your game ball going to? We'll put you on. So let's go.
Guys,
let's score some fantasy points this week. Here we go. Week 7. Rock and roll.
Out.